job.
Thank you, Jim. Jim, our clerk found this problem. All right. We were at City Engineer John Javnik. Are you up there, sir?
Yeah, hi, Mayor. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't hear nothing until right now, so.
Yeah, we had a difficulty here, technical, and Jim got it fixed.
Okay, couple updates. The Summit Street extension up by the Holiday Gas. Sam and I met with the contractor last week, and they should be starting that work either later the end of this week or early next week, and get that curb and gutter and everything done. That's that Summit Street up the hill. That's the Holiday Gas Station. And then the meter bid update, you were looking to have a bid around June 16th for the meters. So that's kind of the schedule we're on for the meter bids. And that's all I had.
On the Summit Street project, I understand it's a pretty busy area going up to the storage units. What is the plan of doing the work and allowing the people to get to their storage units since there is a lot of traffic?
Well, you know, there isn't a lot of access up there, so they're just gonna have the contractor will notify him and just make sure he has to, you know, when people are trying to get in and out of the area, he's gonna have to provide access to them and just kind of work around their construction that's going on right there.
Well, I want to make sure you refer that information to him that it is a busy business up there. So
yeah,
whatever they got to do to accommodate the folks to get there. All right.
Yeah, and then when we were meeting on last week, to actually RC, the owner up there was present, so he kind of heard the schedule and everything, so he's aware of what's going on up there too.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, can I add on that? Oh.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, can I add on that?
Go ahead.
RC, the owner up there, asked if, I don't know if he came forward or not, he asked if we could put a street light up in that corner up there. So I'm going to work on getting some quotes from Minnesota Power to provide a street light up in that corner.
Well, I brought to the council's attention a while back the one by the Holiday, by the intersection of 135, of getting one for that intersection. Working with conjunction with the Holiday gas station, because it's a very dark spot there. I see your concern up there too. Let's do it all at the same time then. I'm okay with it.
Okay, I will work with Minnesota Power and getting some prices for that.
Yeah, and then again, but at the intersection 135, hopefully we can use the same standard Holiday has right there and have two branches coming off, you know? One on Holiday property lit up and then one on the intersection. I don't see a new standard needed there at all. If we can get a partnership with Holiday on that one there. I know Jim's working on that, I think.
Yeah, we've had some conversation with Holiday and they're receptive to looking at some ideas.
Okay, then everybody okay on the council with Sam and Jim proceeding with another street light up there on this project with Summit Street for that business, storage unit business? Okay, polling everybody? I don't hear no objections. All right, go ahead with that, all right?
Yep, I'll get prices, bring them back to council.
All right, anything else, John?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, we talked, as long as we got you on the phone, we're gonna probably talk with Stantec later. So stay on the phone, we got that wastewater treatment plant stuff yet, okay?
Yes, I'll stay on the phone. Thank you.
Okay. More questions for John? We'll go on to, is Ty around, police chief, Ty teacher?
I am.
All right. Go ahead, Ty.
I don't have a whole lot this evening.
obviously, a couple of things that are popping up is the camping issue on some open lots within the communities and in the streets. Obviously, our culverts picked up substantially here in the last 2 weeks. I met with a couple of bar owners in regards to the opening here coming June 1st on the CDC recommendations. There's quite a few questions, and unfortunately, there's a lot of gray areas in regards to the outdoor patio requirement. So still looking at some information on that, but I see that becoming more of an issue I'll be dealing with here in the next week or so.
Okay. I know you're gonna be busy for sure, you bet. Stay on the line there, because we're gonna get down to the fireworks. Maybe you and Jim are gonna be talking about that and the blocking of the street and all that. Okay?
Yep, sounds good.
Any questions for police chief by the council? Okay, Public Works Director Sam Lauder again.
The only thing I got mainly just agenda items. Other than that, we've been working quite a bit up at the cemetery on the water system. We're trying to get that on as soon as possible. You know, mowing lawn, we're starting up, trying to get the lawn mowed, and everything else that comes at us. We started the water plant project, so we've been out there getting that up and running. Hopefully that'll be done in about 2 to 3 weeks. So that's all I got.
Do you have your new lawnmower?
Yes, we do. We got it delivered about 2 months ago.
Okay. Any questions other than what I'm gonna get to the substation here? Any other questions for Sam by the council? Okay, Sam, substation transfer, we talked at length about this at our working session meeting. And I think the council, hopefully the council is ready to vote on the specifics of the substation. To approve the design option number 2 as reviewed and recommended by Minnesota Power and discussed in length. We did some discussion here in February with going to a single voltage transformer instead of a dual voltage transformer at a cost of approximately $650,000 versus $720,000. And this design for the transformer is recommended by Minnesota Power, because if we went to a dual unit, we could not use it anyway, because we'd have to remodify or revamp our entire system in the town. And some point in time, if the city ever did that, they could then at that time put that dual system transformer in, which would save us right now approximately $100,000. So the council, we talked about it and we agreed, I think, and we're gonna need to make it a formal motion here to approve that design option number 2. Voltage, the 4K. What else was specific on that 4K unit?
Just that it was a
Yeah.
single. It was a
Design
single, not
option
dual.
number 2 spells it out anyway, right? That's all in there. So we need to formalize that so Minnesota Power can continue on. We have Minnesota Power representative on the phone here. Joe?
Yeah.
Your last name was, can you tell me your last name again for the record?
Peterson, Peterson.
Joe Peterson from Minnesota Power is with us today. And Joe, could you just elaborate a little bit more briefly on that?
Yeah, the original option that had been looked at was the dual voltage that looks at future upgrade and future changes in upgrading the entire system. That's a fairly costly thing in the case of a regulated utility such as ourselves. That's something we are being asked to do by the PUC. Obviously, for your own situation, it's not a requirement. In this case, it's an opportunity to save about $100,000. If your system grew to the point of needing the upgrade, you've got additional upgrades throughout the system that's probably in the area of $1 million or so before that could be utilized. So obviously, pretty substantial investment. And at that point, you could just replace the entire transformer with a higher voltage transformer, achieve the same results with immediate savings today going this route.
Okay. And again, like I stated, it is correct when I said that our system would not handle the dual transformer until all the transformers are in our citywide system were updated as well.
That's correct. In order to, you need to match the output voltage of your substation transformer with the input voltage on the rest of the system on the other small transformers. So if you have the 4 kV as it currently is, you have to have a 4 kV source and 4 kV transformers. The dual voltage has 4 kV and 12. In order to benefit from switching to 12 kV, all of the other system transformers, the small ones on the pole top, would need to have the 12 kV option as well.
And that's, you estimated about $1 million cost.
Correct.
All right, I think, any other questions for Joel by the council? Are we ready, council, to approve that, formalize that, to have Minnesota Power go ahead and do the job with option number 2 and the single voltage transformer?
Make that motion.
Moved by Councilor Skinsich,
I'll second it.
second by Councilor Leone to approve the design option number 2 for Gilbert by Minnesota Power as recommended by Minnesota Power. Option 2, design number 2 with single voltage transformer versus the dual voltage transformer with the cost savings. And this total approximately cost of $650,000. Any more discussion on that? Councilor Poulos, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councilor Skinsich,
Aye.
Councilor Leone,
Aye.
Councilor Robich,
Aye.
Mayor Oberstar, aye. Motion carries 5-0. I guess we're ready to go there, Joel.
Sounds good. Thank you for your time.
One more thing before you go, I did mention this at the work session, but now we're on TV and if there's any folks out there that concerned or bothersome about the power dips in town, remember I mentioned to you to look into that. Every 6 weeks or so, we, for some reason, in the middle of the day or middle of the night with no storm around, there's been a power dip, and it's coming in from Minnesota Power and nothing to do with the substation here in town. And that you would be looking into that problem, why it's so often, right?
Yes, I will look into that for you.
Thank you. All right, and with that, you're excused, Joel.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, thank you. All right, Library Director Sue DeBoss,
Yes.
welcome. Go
Hey.
ahead.
Okay, everything's been cleaned, weeded. We are ready. Last time we had the council meeting, you asked that I send letters to ALS headquarters with my plans for first not curbside, door or inside, and also to the St. Louis County Health Department, CDC. And I did. I have forwarded those letters and the replies to you and Jim. And both were positive. They thought that there was a lot of effort going into this so that they could find no problems. We had two ideas. One was to have people come to the door and get their checkout, or come into the entrance, which we could sanitize easier, quicker. And both groups thought that they preferred that one, only because nothing on the outside of the door can be taken, pilfered, blown away, destroyed. And we're being very careful about it with a small card table. You would request, I will call, we will set up a time, it will be put on the table at that time, and the inside doors will be locked. I've also put together plans for a soft opening also, and I've put together plans for a counter shield, and between the computers shield, even though we'll distance a good 6 feet, I'm thinking about putting in shields. So, what do you say? Oh, and I'm sorry, courier service for books. That would be twice a week, Monday and Thursday. What comes in Monday, we can process on Thursday. Thursday can be processed on Monday. So we have all the quarantine in effect. I bought 1,000 deli gloves for people touching books and items. We're so far 100 face masks for anybody who doesn't have them. And I bought 24 safety glasses if someone feels the need.
This is for when you're opened, or
We would like to start with you would request an item. If and when I get it in through the courier, I will call you, I will check it out to you, and I will ask you when you would like to pick it up, and I will have it on the table, ready for you to walk in and grab it. It'll be all ready. But I want to also state that you don't have to open the door. We can put that door on lock so it stays open. So you'll come in, you'll pick it up. It'll be away from prying eyes. I can sanitize quick and ready for the next person.
I reviewed your report, and the only thing I got is completely lock the community center
Oh,
front
yep.
door, and not use that in between thing that you and I know you'd like to use. Have them
Well,
come into that area.
Can you guarantee that nobody will take from the outside door? If I place it outside, and will it be protected from the weather?
I would say, because you're open from 10 to 4 or whatever the time is, or 10 to 5, that you'll be in contact by phone with these people to come get their stuff.
Yes, if it was you, I would call you and say, what time can you come?
You're right. Then they will call you when they are parked out there, and you'll come to the door, open the door, put it out in that table outside, and you will watch them grab it and go.
Mm-hmm. And we've put together that rifle bolt thing between the two doors that close for coming into the community center in any way. So there's doors right after the entrance, there's double. And if I put the rifle bolt there, you can't open the door from the outside.
Yeah, they haven't been used in a million years, I don't think, those doors.
Well, doggone. It's time to use them.
I'm still saying, let's don't use them doors. Let's just use the outside door. And when they come, you put it outside, and you watch them take it, and then you can go back and you watch from the door. So
That would work
takes it.
if it's not bad. And then you also have to realize that people are coming up those steps. They could get near each other. If one comes inside into the entrance, which I can easily spray down, then you social distance. You're out there. I have one person in here. I can't spray the outside down.
Councilor Rovich.
Am I missing something in the revised guidelines where the library needs to remain closed? Because at this point, we're opening restaurants, we're opening bars, all of this opening is occurring as of next week. Why don't we just open the library and implement social distancing within the library?
Then you're opening it up for kids and everything. Oh,
Well, we'll have to restrict children for now.
well,
Things are open. That's the point I'm making, is that the governor has said you can now resume going places. The library should be part of that resumption.
Councilor Rovich,
yeah,
you're right on one point. But on our other side, I've been with the ALS. We have about 14 libraries now that are opening up to social distance checkout, where you would come to the door, drive up to the window, come walk in this place, and you would get your items and you would go. They haven't opened up, at least for the Arrowhead, they haven't opened up walking in yet, using the computers. Now they're even talking about making reservations.
and then you still have to have less than 10 only in there. So that's still,
That's easy enough to control. But do you like the idea of the shields between every other computer?
if the Arrowhead is not open yet, I don't see why we should be open yet. So, well, I'm okay with the curbside. Jim, you're okay to go to curbside?
Yes, I think Sue's did a really good job researching and came up with a great plan. Reached out to ALS, also reached out to St. Louis County Public Health. And I think either of her options is very well thought out, and it's a good move to make.
I think we move to the curbside but using the outside door only. And then staying at that door, you got a clear door, you can see the person on the other side, and you can have a somehow to lay it outside in a box or something, so don't blow away. That's what we do at the food shelf. The food is in a box, it's on a table. The people come and pick it up, we watch them, and we go back in. There's no contact there. Okay, I don't know. If that doesn't work, we'll revisit it at the next meeting, okay? Try it that way. Are you ready? You okay to try it at least?
I can try it. But realize now we are coming into the rainy season.
Well, I don't want you.
Go to the mayor.
Well, yeah, if that's the case in between a 2-week period, I could open it up if I had to, yeah. Councilor Pulis.
Ask Rebecca, was that a motion you were making, or is that what just asking a question?
Well, first I wanted to confirm that I wasn't actually missing something in the most recent guidelines that prohibited us from opening. Certainly that is my opinion as to how we should proceed. The only concern I have with the two plans that you've laid out, Sue, and thank you for putting all the time into that. I think you did a great job. What does fire code have to say about keeping our doors locked with people inside the building? I would think there's a violation there. So regardless if we follow this plan or open up, we're going to have some things to navigate. And
Correct.
because there's no guidance coming from the state, yes, I would enter a motion that we should be resuming opening our public buildings and proceeding with opening the library with social distancing in place.
On that note, I would second that motion.
Well, I've heard a motion by Councilor Rovich, supported by Councilor Pulis to open up all the city buildings
Correct.
and in the library. Any more discussion on that? Councilor Skansich?
And when do you want to open them?
That would be effective as of June 1st with the new guidance from Governor Walz.
Councilor Lindsay?
Thank you, Mayor. And so just to hopefully to this conversation a little bit more, I think Councilor Rovich is correct. There's with the updated Executive Order 2056, it would allow for, under certain restrictions, it would allow for the library to open. And the only piece of information that I wanted to point out is that if we're going to, or as we start opening things like the library, we're going to need to have a COVID preparedness plan. And there's some guidance within Executive Order 2056. And specifically, this would fall under Section 7C II, which is customer-facing businesses, which means that there's a potential within the library that your employees and your customers are going to have face-to-face contact. So there's an additional step that, in addition to the COVID preparedness plan that needs to be developed, they got to take the additional step and include information in that plan about what steps you'll take to keep your customers safe while having contact with your employees. But assuming that such a plan is developed, there is no legal prohibition against resuming operations down at the library, at least to a limited extent.
So we need a plan, and then we need to sanitize everything, right?
May I answer?
Yes.
We've sanitized everything,
I mean-
every shelf. No, wait a second. And what we're planning is we would like to go forth because we are masked, glassed, gloved, and we would expect our people to be, our patrons. But what is your thoughts on putting in shields across the front counter? What is your thoughts about putting shields between every other computer? We have 7, so let's say we would keep 3 open. What are your thoughts on that?
Councilor Polis.
I've seen that in a lot of stores I've gone into. They have shields up in most gas stations. Holiday has them in front and everything and stuff. So I would be fine with that. I think if you follow and you know what social distancing is, you know what the right thing is. So I believe under your judgment, your management, that you can open up the library safely and continue on with the business.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna have Jim, and I need some answers from Jim. We have to sanitize the restroom after every use over there? And in here, if we open up here, we don't have enough manpower you might as well okay the city have all those outside
Mhm.
satellites again and all the benches, and has that all been okay with the last executive order? I don't read that in there. Without a plan, you're gonna maintain every satellite after every use, every restroom.
And those are all pieces, Mayor, that need to be part of the COVID preparedness plan.
You have to have the plan and get it okay by CDC before you can open.
You do have to have an approved plan.
You just can't open on June 1st without having the CDC look at your plan, and they have to okay it. Right?
But if there's any problem, we can do our soft checking out the way we're going to do it until we can put a plan in place.
The curbside still before that, yeah, but just to open up, you have to have the plan, submit the plan, and get the okay by the CDC. Okay, go ahead with it.
Okay.
But you can put a date on tomorrow. You don't have a plan, you don't have it submitted, you don't have it okayed yet.
And based on the language of the particular section, I'm not sure that each individual plan necessarily has to be okayed by the CDC directly, but it has to comply with all of the CDC and Department of Health recommendations. So it has to be a compliant plan in that respect. And if a compliance official were to walk into your business, you would need to be able to produce a copy of it so they could read it.
But you would have to have their okay before you can implement your plan.
There wouldn't necessarily be anybody at the federal level or even at the state level that would review individual plan. It's just a requirement to have a compliant plan in place. And for purposes of the library, I would think that at minimum the city would approve the plan, or at least give Administrator Paulson the authority to approve the plan after review.
Okay, go back to the restrooms. And
Can they be blocked off?
You have a public building and you got no restroom use. How does that work?
My opinion would be that if you were opening the public building, you could not block the restrooms off.
Exactly.
It would have to be
So that
accessible.
means then you have to clean it after every use. Right?
Correct.
I'm not familiar with the, or I'm not prepared to issue an opinion on the exact restroom requirements. I would have to research that a little bit.
What I'm getting to, I don't think we're ready for that opening of everything right now. It's not ready. There's more work that needs to be done in planning. More things needs to be cleared up, what you can do, what you can't do. We have to look into if we need somebody stationed outside every restroom that we have. Yeah.
Along those same lines, clearly, while we have the ability to open, it's a judgment call and a policy decision for each council to make.
I don't believe we're ready for that yet. So, any more questions? I vote no, nay. Councilor Bullis.
Yes.
Councilor Robich.
Aye.
Councilor Leone.
I have to say aye. And, if we put signs on the bathroom, clean up after yourselves, that would help too.
Councilor Skinsich. Motion carries 3-2. Councilor Skinsich, Mayor Oberstar voting no. Councilor Poulos, Councilor Leone, Councilor Rovich voting yes. All right, what else, Sue?
Nothing, but you will be apprised of every move I make. If we don't open on the 1st, we will get everything in line for Jim to okay, for you to okay. Is that all right?
Yeah. Anybody, anything else?
No, sir.
Mayor, can we get a clarification on that, on the motion? Council Robich, could you restate your motion, please?
My motion was to open all city structures as of June 1st, provided that we are following guidance, social distancing rules.
All right. Campground directors, Barb and John.
Hi, we're here.
Okay, give us the report. Where are we at?
Well, we think we're ready to open June 1st for self-contained units. After the governor came out with his last order, self-contained units are fine. They have their own bathroom. Although there's no way you can social distance in our bathrooms. So we would keep all the bathrooms closed, and our office would still be closed, but we have a plan where we can check people in over the phone and have the information for them at the door. And if they want wood or ice sales, they call us. It's all credit card, and we can deliver it to them or they can pick it up. But just right now, just self-contained units, no tents. And I've been talking to people, and everybody's just excited if they can come with their self-contained units. So we feel that would be the next move for us.
Okay, so it's not just for seasonals, for every camper that has self-contained, right?
Every camper that has their own bathroom. So then there'll be no contact. We wouldn't have any contact with anybody. It would all be over the phone. They pay ahead of time. They know where their campsite is. And so we're concerned about that with people coming from all over. We don't want to be, we've got to keep our social distancing. And we want to limit it to 4 people 4 adults per campsite, which is common in the industry anyway, just to help keep the numbers down. there's a few campsites we would have to close off because they're too close to each other. But otherwise, I feel if they've got their own bathroom and everything on board, we'd be able to, handle that kind of a customer.
Well, per the last council vote here, you could open up the restrooms. The vote was to open all public buildings in Gilbert. So you can open up your restrooms in the pub and the library one. And the library, Sam, you'll have to clean the restroom almost every use over there. Somebody's got to monitor that at the library, at the campground, in here. That's what the.
Well, Mr. Mayor, when I read the guidelines, we don't qualify for a campground. There's no way, if you're standing at your sink, you're rubbing elbows with the next person. There's absolutely no way you can social distance, and I don't feel that we qualify under the guidelines that I've read.
To open up the restroom?
To open up our restrooms.
What the motion, the last motion was to open up everything. The last motion that you heard on the table here was 3-2 to open up everything in Gilbert. So.
Well, I feel it's in violation of what they're recommending for campgrounds, and I'm not comfortable opening up the restrooms to our campers. I don't. It's what I've read. It's in violation. We cannot social distance.
I agree with
in
you.
Our bathrooms.
I agree with you. Keep it locked, as far as I'm concerned. Okay.
I feel for us to be there to do it properly, and for our safety and our campers' safety, I feel the bathrooms need to be closed. And our campers aren't having an issue with it. They're happy to have their own bathrooms on board.
No tenting over there either, right?
No tenting because the bathrooms won't be open.
Exactly. So
there's no water at a tent site. There's no way to clean up. It's just you're be violating everything that I've read for the campground.
Exactly, Councilor Poulos.
I read over their plan here, and if I'm okay with the motion of keeping their restroom closed for now, until we figure that out. But as far as the rest of it, I agree. Any RVs that have self-contained showers and bathrooms and stuff where they can do their social distancing. I was at the campground over the weekend. I seen how far they are apart from each other. I don't see any reason to not open it up to people that have their own self-contained. So I'll enter a motion into opening up to self-contained with the restroom staying closed.
There's a motion, is a second.
I'll second it.
Councilor.
Thank you, Mayor. And what I'll do, I'm not going to speak too long on this point. I'll read the language from Executive Order 2056. This is Section 8L it's titled the Outdoor Activities. Section 8L reads, and I quote, dispersed in remote campsites for single household use, and these are permitted activities. Goes on to read, a dispersed campsite is a single campsite, not in a developed campground used for overnight camping. A remote campsite is a designated backpack or watercraft campsite, not in a developed campground used for overnight camping. Both private and public developed campgrounds remain closed to recreational camping. The distinction that's been drawn in the guidance that I have been reading is that recreational camping is defined as kind of that taxable camping, and if you establish a long-term site like a seasonal, or if you need to use the campsite for a temporary home base while you're working or engaged in some endeavor for profit, those types of things are available, but just recreational camping is still closed.
Did you hear that, Sue and Barb? John, Barb?
I did. I thought the last time the governor talked, he said that self-contained units could start camping on June 1st.
I can confirm. What we could do is perhaps we could have a contingent motion, and I will confirm the latest update.
Joe, you want to put a contingency that based on Brian, the attorney's, checking into that.
In a motion to, go ahead and proceed with what the campground has recommended for the opening of the self-contained and, no tents or anything, and then the bathrooms would stay closed after Brian takes a look at it. But also to add to that, I know that most campgrounds around here, they're doing the same thing. West Two Rivers, I spoke to them, they're gonna open up June 1st. Hoyt Lakes is looking to do the same thing. Evelyn is doing the same thing. So I see no reason why we can't do the same thing. I mean, that's.
Is that okay with his modification on that?
Yes.
You made the second on it? Okay. Okay, there's moved by Councilor Pulis, supported by Councilor Leone to open up the campground based on a recommendation by our directors, John and Barb, June 1st, with the conditions that we comply with all the executive orders, and our attorney will be looking into all aspects of that latest executive order to okay the camping of all sorts of campers, recreational or seasonal, with self-contained units. There's a little gray area there to be checked into, and no use of the city bathrooms. There'll be and showers down there. Well, anything else to be added on it? Everything's covered there? Okay, Mayor Oberstar votes yes. Councilor Pulis.
Aye.
Councilor Skinsich. Aye. Councilor Leone.
Aye.
Councilor Robich.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Anything else there, John and Barb?
Just a question then for Attorney Lindsay. We've got people already wanting to come in June 1st. When I've got to notify people either yes or no, do you have a timeline where I'll find out from you?
I will have an answer first thing tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you. Can you give the campground a call then?
Okay.
Or an email? Or an email would, how about an email? We'll be traveling. So if you could send the campground an email, that'd be great.
Okay, you said yes, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and hold on, I got one more thing. I have an appointment of Steve Burya to the campground. There's 3 members of that campground committee, Jerry Craven, Jeff Thiel, and now hopefully Danae. My appointment of Steve Burya is interested in that. And once we get that, I'll get the vote here first. That's my appointment. I want the council to hopefully confirm that.
And to approve.
Moved by Councilor Paulus to approve the appointment of the mayor of Steve Burya to the campground committee.
Support.
Supported by Councilor Robich. Any more discussion? Councilor Robich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mayor Oberstar, aye. Councilor Leone.
Aye.
Councilor Skinsich.
Aye.
Councilor Pulis. Motion carries 5-0. Steve Burya is appointed to the campground committee. And with that, we'll get back to him and Terry and Jeff to work with you as soon as you get back here, John and Barb, on set up some meetings with all the rules in play and get going on rates for next year and any other improvements you think the council should be looking at the campground. All right?
Oh, okay, sounds great.
Okay, so you got a full committee there. And also with that, I have to clerk, we have a engineering firm called BAR and IRRB on a greater vision for the Lake Orbegon and Sherwood Forest Campground. I want you all to be involved in that. And those decisions or meetings as well. We're trying to make that area a destination place for vacationers throughout the country. And I don't know if you've been up to speed on that yet, but when you get back to town, check in with the clerk and he'll give you all the information on that, okay?
Sounds perfect. Sounds great.
And with the committee, so I'm looking forward to, your recommendations from your committee on, what more we could do to add and to enhance that campground down there. And I understand we do have to change the rates a little bit, and that, I'd like to get that going so they be effective next year anyway.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I know I missed that ranged mayor's thing. I'm gonna bring it up under miscellaneous. I wanna read it because I feel it's real important. I don't know, I think the director was gonna put it in the Duluth paper. I don't know if it ended up in there or not. We'll do that then. I just missed that. Letter to the governor. Okay, Executive Administrator Clerk, Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. First item is FYI for the council. The 3rd of July committee is planning on a fireworks display on July 3rd, 2020. The city of Gilbert has been named an additional insured on the certificate of liability. Now, I did read in the paper this weekend that 3rd of July had talked to Ty about blocking off part of Main Street.
Ty, are you there, Ty?
I am.
Okay.
All right, perhaps, like I said, I found out about that via the paper. So, Ty, where's that going to be blocked off? What times?
Well, they had asked about it, and I had told them the process that I have in regards to insurance in the city. And we've done it in the past for the fireworks. We blocked off from Wisconsin Avenue up to Dakota Avenue. But again, that is conducive on the city council making approval that they're going to allow it. So that was kind of what I was waiting on, because that's when I submit. Once the insurance is provided, then I submit for the permit.
Okay, what insurance do we need? Do we need insurance for blocking off the main street here? Nothing for that. Councilor, go ahead. Councilor Lindsay?
If I understand correctly, the insurance would be an additional, like a general liability policy that would be purchased or taken out by the 3rd of July committee, just to protect, in the event that there's a mishap with the fireworks.
It lands in the middle of Gilbert Main Street or something, but for Ty to block off the main street and redirect traffic, we don't need, we're covered that way with the league anyway, so.
Our
Yes.
general league policy would extend to cover us.
Correct. I just need to provide the policy to MnDOT when I request the permit.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Jim? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Council included, not included in your packet. This was added on here before you got in. The revenues with comparison to budget for the 4 months ending April 30th, 2020. As I've been talking about, we don't know where we're going with the revenue. So through April, our revenue is at 11.2% to budget. Last year, for comparison, it was 10.6. We don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of months, so we're coming up to a very critical 3-month stretch. So I'll keep the council abreast of what's going on there. And then on the expense side, year to date, we're at 34.7. Last year, we were at 31.8. So once again, over the next few months, we'll be taking a good hard look at that to see where we are and make sure we will be, in good financial shape as the summer rolls on. And then finally, included with your add-on material tonight is the check registry, check report for the period May 9th through May 26th. And everything else will be agenda. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I think we need a formal motion to allow, my back hurts. Oh, I can't even breathe something. A formal motion by the council to okay the fireworks, I guess, and contingent on the providing the insurance and covering the city as waiver from any liability.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
Moved by Councillor Pulis, supported by Councillor Robich to okay the fireworks by the 3rd July committee with the contingency that we are mentioning liability insurance by them that the city of Gilbert is covered and not liable in way in any form from any damages that would occur from that. Damages or pain. Any more discussion? Does that suffice, Councillor, the other Councillor Lindsay? Yeah. You will look at that, right? And Jim is looking at all of that? Okay. How do we vote? Councillor Pulis? Aye. Councillor Skinsich?
Aye.
Councillor Leone?
Aye.
Mayor Oberster, aye. Councillor Robich?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. All right. No more, anybody got any questions for our city clerk over there? Jim? Councillor Skinsich?
Seeing as we just voted to open up the city buildings again, I guess you're gonna have to really do some research and figure out what we have to do at City Hall, keep you guys safe.
Yes, I am not going to sign off on opening up a building until we are in compliance with the CDC social distancing rules and the recommendations from DEED.
First of all, as far as the owners are concerned, what's the key part of their proposal? Well, I think the big thing is
somebody needs to mute.
About the 50/50.
Somebody needs to mute. Okay. All right. Okay, that's good there, Chair, Councillor? Acknowledge the board as commission minutes. This one here is the planning and zoning minutes of December 2nd. I mean, we did the recommendation last December. This is basically just okaying those minutes because they haven't had a meeting till now.
That is correct, Mayor.
We're just okaying their minutes, and we've already acted on our recommendation.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Moved by Councillor Pulis, supported by Councillor Robich. To approve those minutes, and we did also have done the recommendation that they've asked. Vote by Councillor Pulis. Aye. Councillor Skinsich.
Aye.
Councillor Leone.
Aye.
Mayor Oberster, aye. Councillor Robich.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Old business. Wastewater treatment plant update. Do we have Mr. Ron LaFawn on the phone?
Yes, Mayor, I'm here.
How are you doing, sir? Welcome aboard, and go ahead and give us an update, and then we have some things.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure, Mayor. The project is nearing completion. The contractor continues to do the site work, which is really the last thing on most projects: paving, seeding, grading. There's also a little bit of piping. The last bit of piping to finish up is happening. There should be sidewalks poured next week. Paving and final site work happening in June. That's the latest on the plant, Mayor.
All right. We brought up a couple items today we'd like to get cleared up. One, probably voting on that on the rods versus the cable and all that kind of stuff. I think the council,
Yes.
prepared to, make a motion to give you some direction on that.
Okay.
Okay, I think, we're prepared, hopefully, I get a motion by the council to okay to go along with, Jim, you want to read the letter from Magny?
Yes, Mayor. The letter the city received from Magny is in response to a letter that we had sent describing our thoughts on the wire cable, the steel rod, and also the AIS requirements. And the response is as follows. There's been much discussion surrounding this issue, and we, that would be Magny Construction, are proposing to use the tension rods as detailed by Stantec on the attached drawing, SSK01. These tension rods are readily available, approved structurally by Stantec engineers, meet the AIS requirements, and will be supplied and installed at no extra cost to the city of Gilbert. And as you can see from the attachments that I included, we had various options there. This one here, this tension rod, did have a cost of $10,737.50. It would have increased the project minus the what was budgeted by $8,507.50. Magny has offered to install them, supply and install at no cost to the city. So I think we have come out okay there. They do meet the American Steel requirements. And I think going by the Stantec engineers, I think the rods will serve the city quite well.
And how do you feel with that, Ron?
I think I really would be speaking for Magny. I think they felt that this was a reasonable approach. Our engineers, our structural people are very comfortable with these tension rods, and it's a middle ground between the very expensive cable and then a cable that doesn't comply with the AIS. So I personally think it's a good solution, and Magny's on board with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think council, we've discussed it earlier tonight. I think it's time to formalize this thing. If I can get somebody to make a motion, Jim?
Mayor, before we do that, is John Jamnick, our city engineer, still on?
Yeah,
I'm here, Jim.
John,
here.
I sent you the letter earlier. Did you get a chance to review that, or are you comfortable with the rods?
Yeah, I reviewed the letter, and I know that was one of the options initially, but I agree. Why would it should have cost the city more money? So Magny's position to do this work to meet the AIS requirements at no extra cost to the city, I think is a good solution to the overall issue. So I'd recommend the city proceed with that.
All right, thank you, John. As earlier we talked about, I recommend we do as well, take this solution to this problem, but I personally never did like rod versus cable. I don't, when a rod snaps, it snaps. Is 26 rods gonna snap at one time, or half of them? I don't, maybe not. But anyway, the strength wise is a wire is more strength, stronger than rod in my view. I'm not gonna change that view of that. I've seen rods, depending on what kind of steel they're made out of, very brittle or very strong, one or the other. But we're at the end of the card game on this thing. I think it's a good solution. It's still American made. And again, maybe 26 rods are not gonna break at one time, so nothing very damaging would happen. So I think it's a good solution to finalize this issue and get it over with. So if I'm entertaining the council to come forward with a motion to go proceed with that 26 rods with no additional pay expense to the city.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second for the purpose of discussion.
Motion by Councilor Pulis, supported by Councilor Robich, to approve the compromise to allow Magny to go ahead with the American-made Steel Institute rod, 26 rods we need down at the sewer wastewater treatment plant versus a cable. Discussion, Councilor Robich.
The only discussion point I have, and I don't know, possibly Clerk Paulson can answer, or Ron from Stantec. Do we know the status of the original council directive several months ago to proceed with ordering the cables? I'm assuming that did not take place, and the city is not going to, at a later point, be presented with a bill for that material.
That's correct. The cable did not get ordered.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Wow on that one. Oh boy. All right, any more discussion? We vote, Mayor Oberstar voting yes. Councilor Robich.
Aye.
Councilor Skenzich.
Aye.
Councilor Leone.
Aye.
Councilor Pulis. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. It's done. Okay, Ron? Can you pass that on?
Thanks, Mayor.
You or Jim pass that on?
Yeah, I will. I'll let Greg Sapolsky at Magny know.
Okay, thank you. And another thing we have for you is been brought to our attention that the sewer plant, a water plant, I always say sewer plant, wastewater treatment plant, has developed a annoying noise down there, bothers them to the north end of town after the startup of this blower system. And do you have anything to speak about that? And is there a fix with that? Is that something we'll have to live with? I hope not.
Mayor, I've been aware of that now for perhaps a couple weeks, or let's just say a week. I've spoken with the blower manufacturer, the blower supplier. There is a solution, and there is on order what I will call a sound attenuation that you can put on the end of one of the pipes that's connected to the blowers, and that has been used as solutions for noise in other situations like this. So that is the way we're proceeding, and I'm asking the supplier to make sure he lets me know when the delivery date is, so we can get those installed immediately.
Is that going to be a change order or no?
This noise problem is new to me. I mean, I've used PD blowers quite a bit. I have talked to the supplier, and I think that it is possible this will not be a change order. So I need to talk with the supplier again. I mean, their argument will be, well, they will make an argument that it wasn't in the original scope, but I will get back to him and let you know, Mayor, if there is a change order or not. But I've been heading that direction.
I'm pretty sure it was not the city's intent to have that noise either. So, in the original scope of things.
Right. No, that's that noise is annoying, and I'm not surprised that there are people at whatever distance complaining about that. I would too.
Yeah. So you're on it, and you feel that this muffler or baffle will work, and or at least we got to find some way. If that doesn't work, we can continue on finding a way to solve that, right?
wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket, but this device that's going to be shipped on site, one for each blower, has been used for this very issue before.
Okay.
You might call it a muffler to some degree.
I just want to say that if it doesn't work, we continue on finding something that works, okay?
I understand, Mayor. I agree.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions? Councilor Poulos.
To reiterate on that with this system and this thing making noise, I think it's right for the contractor to make sure that it gets taken care of right without extra city cost, because like you said, we didn't ask for it, and if you deliver a product, it should properly work without all the noise. So
very good, Councilor. All right.
Understood.
Ron?
Yes, sir.
Okay, everything's good then, right?
Yep, we're good. We're in the final stretch. That doesn't mean everything's fixed by any means, but I think people will look at the site a lot differently once sidewalk and paving goes in. It will be a major improvement.
All right. Anybody else got anything for Ron? Let him go. I think we can let you go then, Ron. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank
Bye.
you, too. Yeah. Okay. Minnesota Highway 37 update. Is Doug there? Or John, Janik? Anybody? Somebody want to speak about that?
Well, we understand they're still on schedule to take bids, first week of June. And then we'll get a post-bid summary of all the costs.
Okay.
I don't know. I see there's an Ellers update that Jim's gonna probably speak to. But technically, I think everything's fine.
Okay, Jim.
Yeah, my last conversation with Doug is everything is still on schedule, and there was no need for him to be on this call.
Okay. Okay, now, was I talking about that today?
You were.
Is Joe still here?
I hope he is.
It hasn't been 6 weeks yet.
Okay. I thought he was gonna take care of that.
It wasn't 6 weeks ago the last time this happened, no.
Now it's been only about a week in between. We'll have a little technicality. We'll get everybody back on board here.
Set of your report dates and times.
Is Joe there? He's gone. Okay, doggone it anyway.
Well,
anyway, so there's
at least we could log the time when it happened.
Yeah. 8:10, 7:50. 7:50. Big storm out there too. Anyway, I just saying. Anyway, okay, so we got a lot of witnesses to that now. And again, I've read this in Facebook. I responded, it's not city's fault. Okay? So anyway, let's get it. I seen it in Virginia myself when I used to work over there. Middle of the day, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, same thing. Oh, I don't know what's going on.
Well, no, it was up by our place. Holiday, for a few years, and always stayed on that side. Now it's getting into town. I don't know. I can't explain it.
It's throughout the whole town. But anyway, we're on the Highway 37 update. Anybody still got any questions for John there? No. I'll just say to the council here, I am not giving up on getting 4 votes to include phase 2. Phase 2 is not one phase this year, one phase next year. Phase 1, 2, and 3. If you look at that big, long thing, it's broke down into projects. phase one of the Main Street projects had everything directly to do with the main street. Phase 2 and 3 have other projects in town that the city is responsible for to include on the project of the whole thing, to be included in this bond. Take advantage of the bond of the 1.5% interest. Get as much projects, more bang for the buck that you can. And these are good projects, need to be catching up on. You do the alley thing, this main street will be untouchable except for the blacktop. Every 25 years. The sewer and water underneath is 110 years old, or at least 90 years old, and it'll be all done from the alley to the alley. City of Gilbert will be in great shape not to have to worry about that for another 90 years. If we can include that onto this bonding bill for Elders to include at that rate, that's almost paying principal on it at that rate. Councilor Pulis.
Questions on that. Do we have, like, I'm getting calls from all kinds of people in Gilbert, citizens of Gilbert, saying that their streets are terrible too, but they're not included in the plan. So what do we do about that?
Again, we can, well, if the council wants to explore other streets, I'm open to it because of the bond is so good. Right now, this phase 1, 2, and 3, which would be the basic Main Street area underground. 2 is the alley to alley with Louisiana Avenue up top and Nebraska up on top and water and sewer. And phase 3 is kind of like in this thing was the water towers, both of them. Okay, with those 3, without any help, I think we determined, estimated by Jim, 17 some dollars without any help on the water bill, just like the sewer bill of 1950, debt service, without any help, which we do have 70% help on that, right? So it won't be the 15 or $17. It's going to be less than that if we did all of that. Now, if you want to add some more, look into some other things, I'm open to that. But tonight, I don't have it on the agenda for Highway 37, but I will at the first meeting of every month until I hopefully can convince some counselor, one more counselor, to get the 4th vote to do this for the benefit of Gilbert in the long run. Councilor Pulis.
My thing on that is, and yes, I would be willing to look at changing my vote as long as we have someone go around and maybe look at these other streets that people are talking about. If we're going to do this, we might as well do it right. And we need to have a plan in place for what other streets are going to get added, what's the amount we're going to need. We need some figures. If we can come up with some figures and streets that need to be done, then I would look at changing my vote.
Very good. And we'll have, once you inform our city clerk about these streets that you think you got in mind here, and then you'll pass it on to John Jamnick, and hopefully by the next meeting, I will bring up phase 2 again on the agenda, and hopefully you'll get your answers. Councilor.
Just got one more thing now on the clarification. No matter what we do, even if we do say we do approve this, phase 2 will not get done until next year, correct?
There's no phase 2. It's the whole project. The phase is forget about the phase. The highway department can only do those in 2 years, that project. Take the word phase out of there. Yeah. Yeah, and next year some more. Yeah, but the phases on the listing of what we want to do. Because if you put it all on here, you guys aren't going to vote for it. You didn't vote for it, so we had to break it down. You're going to vote for this, then you vote for this, and then, you know what I mean?
clarification was actually not phase one, phase two. It was, they're only gonna go a certain distance this year because of the people didn't turn their easement on that side.
Yes.
And then the next year they're gonna do the rest,
Right.
no matter what we do.
We okayed that already.
Okay.
Last time. That was in the phase one. But that's not their calling their phase one. That's what we're calling phase one. As a bundle. I like to bundle the whole thing into one big phase. But we had to break it down because everybody's not on board on everything. Okay? Councilor Rovich.
I just want to state for clarification that the 70% assistance that you reference is not guaranteed at this point. And also state that this week will mark 70 days that we have businesses that have not been allowed to produce revenue. And so with those two items in mind, my vote at this point cannot change.
Very good, but even like I say, without any assistance at all, the $17.50 a month for 20 years to do that kind of work in town, you cannot consciously pass that up. The amount of work that we are doing here on that 30-year low interest, you can't pass that up. You can't go, but this last 2.5 months, they're gonna make that up hopefully in a year or two here. We're talking about 20 years and we're looking at about 80 years worth of good work here that some council down the road is not gonna have to worry about. And I don't see the comparison of why not to. This was on the table way before Corona, and it should stay there. We cannot pass up that opportunity. But I'm not going to belabor this council every meeting. I'm going to speak about it, but we're going to have that next vote next meeting on the phase two, and hopefully you can get some projects, some other streets. Well, we got miles of alleys to take care of in this town. These alleys were put in poorly way back in the day when they were, I'm glad they got them done, but they didn't hold up very good. So for some reason they were done poorly. They should have held it up a lot better than they have been. So there's a lot of alleys that need, I mean, there was no strength to them. They were just graded down and blacktop back on, no thinking of if that soil was going to hold anything, if how good the foundation was, didn't matter. So that, and a lot of other streets, there's no doubt about it, yeah. You're very correct on that. Okay, John, where's John? Is he still there? Well, John, Jim and John and Joe, get on that right away so we can get some answers for Joe by next meeting.
Yep.
All right. And in here we have Eller's retention. Who's going to talk about that? You, Jim?
Yes, Mayor. There's a letter of engagement in your packet. It's for Ellers as a dissemination agent for issuer continuing disclosure requested under SEC, which is the Securities and Exchange Commission. The service is a cost of $750 a year to provide services in respect to all current and future securities of the issuer that are subject to the SEC rules. Due to the new bond issue the city is seeking for our upcoming projects, I recommend utilizing this service to make sure the city is in compliance with the Securities and Exchange Commission rules, and then reevaluate prior to renewing this. In the contract, it has a automatic renewal clause that we can get out of. It's not triggered if we act at the 10-month mark or so. I think it's a good thing for this, like I said, for the city, just to make sure we are in compliant with our existing issues and the issues we're going to have in the next 10 months or so. For $750, I think we can take that out of professional services, out of the city office. And I just think for the comfort factor and to make sure the city's confident going forward, I think this is a good program.
I recommend I go along with Jim. We spoke about it, and he's already said everything that we spoke about. For you there, I agree that dealing with the kind of money with the 1.4 and then approximately maybe another 1.4 on top of that, there's going to be a lot of phone calls going on anyway between Jim and them on things in the next few years. So I think to have them on board, to have this, like to be having a lobbyist for us in the financial arena there, watching things for us, like even maybe refinancing if we had to. You know what I mean? If we get even better than the rate we get. So I think that's what you're looking at maybe too, a watchdog for that kind of stuff.
A motion to approve.
Support.
Moved by Councilor Pulis, supported by Councilor Robich to approve the retention of Ellers at the cost of $750 a year to help with the city clerk in the financial matters of our bonds and all types of matters like that. Any more discussion? Councilor Pulis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilor Skinsich?
Aye.
Councilor Leone?
Aye.
Mayor Oberstar, aye. Councilor Robich?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. All right, we're under new business. Variance petition. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. Council, the Planning and Zoning Commission had a hearing for a variance request for Dan Miller, 301 Broadway. That meeting was held on May 18th, and attached in your packet is the findings of fact. The commission did agree with the first three questions in that finding of fact, did not agree with the last two, and therefore voted to deny the variance request. That request is now forwarded to the council for final approval or denial. And the issue was the homeowner wanted to build onto the city's right of way and onto the city's property. And like I said, the planning and zoning recommendation is to deny this variance.
I agree with this planning and zoning's recommendation to deny that the request for variance. I don't think we want to get into start allowing patios on city property, even being no other purpose or that area but a sidewalk for the city. But we have easements for the sewer, any water lines or stuff under there, but it's not a good policy to get into and open up a can of worms all over town. Councilor Skinsich.
I'll move to accept the recommendations.
Okay.
Second.
You cut me off, huh? Moved by Councilor Skinsich, supported by Councilor Pulis to agree with the Planning and Zoning Commission to deny this variance request of for the patio deck to be on the city property. Councilor Pulis, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilor Skinsich?
Aye.
Again, we're voting against, for the denial of this thing by voting aye. Councilor Leone?
Aye.
Councilor Robich?
Aye.
Oberstar, aye. Motion carries 5-0 to agree with the planning and zoning recommendation to deny the variance request. Sidewalk rehabilitation, last year, council, we did 11,000 plus work on sidewalks. I think, we have any people signed up yet, or we probably have to okay this stuff first before we have any holdovers from last year, Sam?
I know there was one person from last year that was interested, and we took his name down, and we will get a hold of him if the council recommends to do this work again, to see if he wants to get on the list or not. Again, so we could start a new list if the council wishes and open it up till just after the 4th of July, and then start trying to get this stuff done before sometime in August.
I know another resident other than who you were speaking about wants to get on that list, so there's at least two. And once we open it up, there may be more. So I would recommend to the council, again, go to the minimum of at least a $10,000 project, sidewalk rehabilitation to take care of the needed repairs of some of these sidewalks in town.
And we would do the same thing last year where the homeowner would pay for the concrete and the city would pay for the labor, right?
Yes, homeowner pays for the concrete, and the city does the labor or will provides for the labor. Any discussion on that? Anybody want to make a motion? Do I have to step? I'll step the chair if I have to, but.
I'll make the motion that we go forward with the sidewalk rehab.
I'll second a motion by Councilor Skinsich, supported by the mayor to approve of a authorized $10,000 to be put into sidewalk rehabilitation in town, and a list to get started upon approval of this motion. Any other discussion? Councilor Poulos.
This $10,000 in the budget, I think it says that it wasn't in the budget, or.
We talked about that earlier, 10,000 in the budget. I was taken out of last year out of Sam's capital outlay. And there's no capital outlay this year, but he didn't use all his money last year because the lawnmower was put in at and that payment for the lawnmower did not come out of that capital outlay. It's coming out of the campground funds. So I think we got money there. I don't know how much money, but again, we kept it down to keep the levy down on the budget. Otherwise we'd have but here we are now. We can still do it, and we can by this fall we can see where we're at and make adjustments this fall. I like to remind everybody that we are still one officer short. So that has been budgeted for a whole fleet of the whole, 6 or 7 personnel in that budget. But we have not utilized that. We're still short and we're giving overtime. So there's room there. Okay. So there's ways, creative ways. It's a different story if it was November or December right now. We couldn't even do the project. But if it was a project that could be done in November, December, then I would really look at where we're sitting. And he just gave you the finances, but we're still not at the last quarter of the year and to worry about anything.
On that note, I'll second.
I second it already. All right. Any other discussion? Okay. Anything? Did you go wave to me? Okay. Mayor Oberstar votes yea. Yes. Councilor Skinsich. Councilor Leone.
Aye.
Councilor Poulos. Councilor Robich.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Counselor Robich voting no, voting yea, Counselor Pulis, Counselor Skenzich, Counselor Leone, and Mayor Overstar. Motion carries. Sam, you take care of that now?
Yeah, I can work with Jim to get something put up at City Hall.
As far as the last folks that got sidewalk, you got a one piece of sidewalk to take care of yet? And
Yep.
clean up the cement and get some black dirt and some grass seed there for those
Yep.
folks. Yeah. You know, it's on your list on number one spot or two spot.
Yeah, there's a couple spots there.
Yeah, okay. All right. Cemetery access and maintenance. So what are we talking about there? We just did a lengthy talk at, we're gonna wait, aren't we, for, we'll skip that. What's the maintenance part? Anything there?
I don't have nothing.
Okay. Okay, we're skipping cemetery access and maintenance till, sometime in June where we got more information on who the contractor is. And we hear more from I want all the counselors, to review the three routes that we talked about for that, to get into that expansion area. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, the maintenance part of that was, to discuss general maintenance of the cemetery. There's, it's been reported that there's some overturned headstones and such like that. So
Oh.
that's where the maintenance question was coming in.
Oh, yes, I forgot about that. So, yeah, Sam, we have at least a dozen over headstones. And people are asking me if it's been done by on purpose. I mean,
No, what happens there, Mr. Mayor, is in the springtime when you get snow melting and freezing overnight, those newer headstones, that's all they are is they're caulked on top of the bases. So what happens is when that caulk deteriorates, water gets under, water melts, and then it freezes at night. And that water will freeze, it expands and lifts up the upright, and it slowly slides off. The older headstones actually had two dowels on them, so where they wouldn't slide off. But now with the new ones, they don't have the dowels, so that's what happens is they slide off and then they fall over.
this is an ongoing Gilbert problem since 1980s when I first became mayor, and has been brought to the council on having our city crew put them up back in the way they were, having somebody else do that, and then the liability insurance involved if you break it, this and that, and eventually nothing ever got done. Nothing ever got done. And we're still here 30 years later, and they're still falling down, and we're just piling up more, and it's going to look like terrible up there if we don't do something about it. So
I know.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I know over the past probably 5 to 6 years, John Oskelko, he was on the cemetery board. He was fixing them up and pouring new bases and whatnot. And we would assist them at that, with a backhoe. We'd slide the bases out of the way a little bit here and there for him to do the work. And I know recently, I think in the budget of the cemetery, they did put maybe some money in there for these grave savers, they're called, where we could get the backhoe to lift them up and dig out the old base and put these grave savers on them. They're very inexpensive, and they're like a floating base, and I guess they work pretty good. But the first thing is the water line, and the next thing would be maybe to start looking at doing some of the old ones, if there's still money available, and when we're not mowing grass and got other stuff going on. So I know it's been brought up at the cemetery committee meetings, and so whether they want to try to find a bunch of people to go up there and volunteer, which they've done in the past to do that, or if, you know, we can get some volunteers to work with the city crew or vice versa on it. But, you know, we got other stuff we're doing too. So this would be something to fill up time in the fall or towards the end of summer.
I know other towns have volunteer groups that do it, volunteer groups, the city's okayed them to go do it. But probably taking on any liability that that group of volunteers would chip a stone or whatever. That could be expensive. And that's been the discussion up here for years, saying no to it. But again, there's falling down and something needs to be done. And we have to just bite the bullet and get somebody to do it. Maybe the headstone people, they got the equipment with the booms and everything, and they could be a little bit more delicate than somebody else would be with the stone, and they know how to handle this stuff. Well, maybe at this time, have the cemetery board review the situation, come with a recommendation. But my recommendation to the council and the cemetery board, yes, we should take care of it. And yes, we should probably, even though the liability may be there, still take the risk to get the job done somehow. And hopefully, maybe the league would bless us on that. I don't know, but something needs to be done. It's not vandalism. People are asking if it was vandalism. No, it's just wear and tear on that glue, what you're talking about. It's the life of it is gone. The winters take a toll up there, up and down, up and down. But we're losing a whole section on the right side or south side of that cemetery. They're coming down like trees, and we need to do something. I want the council to think about it. Have the cemetery board think about it. Come back at another meeting here, June, July. Come with some ideas on how to get them put back up, be it internally or externally outside the city. But let's get some kind of plan and bring it to the council in next month or two, okay?
Okay.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
If you're going to the cemetery meeting, bring that up, Sam.
Yep.
Any more discussion on that? Beaches and public buildings. Well, we took care of the public buildings. What are we gonna do with the beaches? Councilor Robich.
I'll enter a motion to allow access to the public areas outdoors in the city of Gilbert, including parks and beaches.
There's no lifeguard. We have lifeguards, don't want lifeguards, right?
No lifeguard.
Okay, Councilor Robich has entertained a motion to open up the beaches in town.
Again.
And second by Councilor Pulis. Any more discussion? I'll be voting no again on that. Councilor, Mr. Paulson.
Mayor, thank you. Just so the council is aware that we do have signage up at the beaches and at the parks per the guidelines from the state of Minnesota.
Okay, speaking about the playgrounds, you're gonna open up the playgrounds too, or you wanna
I
take care?
included playgrounds in my motion. The playgrounds in all of the surrounding cities are open currently.
Okay. That's in there. Any more discussion on that? Roll call vote, Mayor voting no. Councilor Leone,
Aye.
Councilor Robich,
Aye.
Councilor Pulis. Councilor Skenzich. Motion carries 3-2. Mayor Oberster, Councilor Skenzich voting no. Voting yes, Councilor Pulis, Councilor Leone, Councilor Robich.
Mayor, one more time, just for clarification, that is playgrounds, parks, beaches, following CDC recommendations. Thank you.
Vacancy posting, we have the vacancy need to post for the replacement of our water and light clerk, Caitlin Bennett, who has resigned effective yesterday. So we need to.
Motion to post.
We're hoping that internally for how long?
It'll be posted internally for 7 days, Mayor.
And then within the same motion, like after that, it'll be 2 weeks externally.
No, if there's a senior union member who posts for the job, it would go to them.
What if there's nobody? Then what?
If there's nobody, that we would post that upon council's approval. Post it externally upon council's approval.
That's what I want in your motion. If we have an applicant within a 7 day internally, then we look at that. And if not, he's authorized to go externally.
Move on that motion there.
Okay. Two-part thing. Anybody want to say second that?
I'll support.
Support by Councilor Robich. Move by Councilor Pulis, supported by Councilor Robich to authorize internal hiring process of the Caitlin Bennett position of the water and light clerk internally for 7 days, and after that, if no applicant is application received, be authorized the clerk to for 2 week period advertise for that externally. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh boy, again.
It's okay. It's okay.
Councilor Robich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mayor Overstar, aye. Councilor Leone.
Aye.
Councilor Skinsich.
Aye.
Councilor Pulis. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, I think it's real important, though I skipped it on my position up here as mayor. Got into the other stuff. The Iron Range Mayor's Rams got this letter together where we sent to the governor on May 13th. I think it's important to, we have it posted outside here, and I think it's important to talk about and have the folks in Gilbert know about it. The Iron Range Mayor's May 13th, 2020. Honorable Governor to the Honorable Governor Tim Walz, Governor State of Minnesota, 75 what's that? Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, St. Paul, Minnesota. Honorable Governor Walz, as the mayors of the Iron Range communities, we recognize the significant pressures that you have endured as the first governor since the 1918 Spanish flu plague to deal with a global pandemic. We respect your leadership and the courage, wisdom, and commitment to follow the science as you have made difficult and challenging decisions impacting the lives of every citizen in this great state. You are dealing with a divided legislature and subject to criticism from many who have not agreed with all of your decisions and use of your executive authority granted to you under the Peacetime Emergency Declaration. As mayors, we have not always agreed, but we have also declared emergencies in our communities and made similar difficult decisions impacting our local residents, often in lockstep with you, Governor Walz. The federal government has taken action during the pandemic to assist the states' healthcare and national security. They have also passed COVID-19 relief bills, with the largest to date being the CARES Act. This act provided financial relief to all 50 states, with Minnesota receiving just under $2.2 billion. $300 million of that would directly go to Hennepin and Ramsey counties as they met the threshold of having over 500,000 in population. Of the balance per federal law, 45% of the CARES Act dollars are to be allocated to local governments. That equates to $667 million that many local governments allocate those funds following federal guidelines. Other states have issued large percentages of those funds on a per capita basis back to the local governments that they are intended for. As mayors, we are aware of the politics occurring in St. Paul. Legislators are clamoring for more inclusion in your decision-making from the stay-at-home to the allocation of these federal CARES Act dollars. A bill has been introduced in the Senate that provides for remittance of those funds based on a per capita no later than June 15th. Immediately after release of this bill, a number of metro-based and even Hennepin County began clamoring for a different system of allocation so that they would get a larger portion of the funds than other out-state communities or counties. Governor Walz, Governor Walz, when you ran for governor, your mantra was one Minnesota, a state where location and county lines or population would not make the difference in the opportunities and the support we would see from you as governor. Now more than ever, we need you to stand behind your words and your commitment to rural Minnesota. Those funds are sitting idly in St. Paul where they should be distributed to the local governments. Local governments are now facing a loss of revenue in early July due to many county boards waiving late fees for property taxes who may miss the May 15th deadline. Local government budgets rely on those regular deposits from the state and county payments, putting additional pressure on mayors and other elected officials to make difficult budgetary decisions during the most trying of times. Downtown businesses have been shuttered and the uncertainty remains as to how many will eventually reopen when you grant them the privilege of doing so. As stated at the beginning, as mayors, we recognize the many challenges that you are facing as a leader of our state. On a lesser scale, we are faced with similar decisions for our residents and communities. The federal government has acted to provide us with some relief, and we are asking that you do all that you can to initiate and expedite an equitable process to distribute those CARES Act dollars to our local governments. Respectfully submitted, Iron Range mayors, and almost every mayor from all the mayors from Aiken to Ely, Two Harbors. I guess we got about 23, 28 mayors in here that have signed on that. And that has been sent to the governor and publicized, I think, in some papers. So I hope we get some action on that. And thank all the mother mayors for joining in on that. Approve the payment of bills and payroll of the city of Gilbert upon proper audit by the clerk and mayor.
Motion.
Support.
Been moved by Councilor Pulis, supported by Councilor Robich to approve the payment of the bills and payroll upon the proper audit by the clerk and the mayor. Any more discussion? Councilor Pulis, how do you vote? Aye. Councilor Skansich?
Aye.
Councilor Leone?
Aye.
Councilor Robich?
Aye.
Mayor Oberstar, aye. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, no other further business. We're ready to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilor Robich, supported by Councilor Leone to adjourn at 8:35, 8:34. Any more discussion? Councilor Robich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilor Leone?
Aye.
Councilor Skansich? Councilor Pulis? Mayor Oberstar, aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:34.